All right, we're here with another science lesson. We are on lesson 10, and we're going to learn about something going on a place called Tangier Island.
Yeah, now this is like when we talked about when we first started this unit, there was an island we needed to save. So we are going to be watching this video, but we are going to have to make some observations so that we can learn how to best save this island. Yes. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
On Tangier Island in the USA, life tends to move at its own gentle pace. The island is located nearly 20 kilometers from the Virginia shoreline. And it's home to a small community of a few hundred people. Many on the island make their living from the sea, catching and selling crabs and oysters. But the sea is also a growing threat to the entire island. Since the 1850s, more than 60% of the island's land has disappeared beneath the waves. The people who live here have watched the coastline change right in front of them, with new areas of land flooding every year.
I'd say at least 100 feet that has come in, that has took the land away, just erosion, and it just seems like it's getting worse every year. I'm just kind of fearful what it's going to be down the road. I mean, in just a few short years.
This tiny patch of land used to be connected to the main island. Now it's completely cut off.
The cross you see here on this island, actually, I put that there last year. It's all gone. All this area here disappeared last year.
Today, many of the people who live on Tangier are worried about the island's future. They know that time is running out. And unless something is done soon, their home could disappear forever. They need engineering solutions to save it from erosion before it's too late.
All right, how can engineering solutions help save Tangier? The entire point of everything we're learning during this science book, Save the Island, this is the island, Tangier. We're going to learn all about, we have been learning all about erosion, what causes the land to change shape. Here, rising seawater is eroding away the island's outer coastal regions, and there's less and less land every year. And eventually, through everything we're learning, we're going to try to come up with a plan on how to save this island from completely ending up underwater, right?
We're going to have to act like engineers and try to come up with a solution. Yeah. I feel really bad for those families. They must be worrying about their homes and the things that belong to them, and worrying if it's going to be there next year.
Yeah.
So it's a real situation and a real place.
All right, so now that we have watched the video and we know where Tangier Island is and what their issue is, that it's, you know, underwater more and more each year, we're going to read a story called A Day on Tangier Island. This is on page 29. It's also available for you to read along with us, so we'd like you to turn to that page. And this is told from the perspective of a kid who lives on that island, what life is like for them. So let's get started and hear what's going on.
All right. I put on my rain boots and step out into the backyard. It is cloudy and a bit chilly. It is perfect fiddler crab hunting time. My favorite stick is leaning against the side of the house. I also see my bucket. I pick them up and step out into the soggy yard. I see my first crab hole. I poke around in the mud. Soon, a fiddler crab pokes out a claw. I gently pick it up and put it into my bucket. From the back porch, Grandpa yells, "Cameron, put that crab back into its hole. Get on up here, we're going real crabbing today." I put the fiddler crab back into its home and stomp up to the house. Grandpa looks at me and shakes his head. He says, "You know, in my day, you had to work hard to find a fiddler crab. You had to go to the beach. Now, you just have to jump down those steps and squish through the backyard." I follow Grandpa into the house. What do you mean about having to go all the way to the beach and all the way to the beach to find fiddler crabs, I ask.
Grandpa replies, you see, when I was a kid, the backyard was dry. There were no fiddler crabs around here. You had to go to the beach for them. You had to go hunt for them at the beach.
But I've lived here since I was born. The backyard is always wet and has fiddler crabs, I say. You're right, replies Grandpa. That's because for many years now, the Chesapeake Bay has been eating away at Tangier Island. The bay is starting to creep up to the house. My cousin Ella bursts in through the front door. She is visiting from Washington, D.C., and is going crabbing with us. Ella exclaims, Grandpa, every time I visit you, I'm always happy to be so close to the bay. It's so pretty and so much fun here. Ella excitedly says, I can't wait to go crabbing. I've never even touched one. I'm less excited than she is, since I do this all the time with Grandpa. He is a retired waterman or crab fisherman. Grandpa, Ella, and I climb onto our bikes. Only a few people drive cars on the island. As we ride, Grandpa points to the north and says to Ella, does that say you?
You sit there.
You sit there. It's called the
Upwards.
The Upwards. That's where your great-grandpa was born. There is very little to see other than the water of the Chesapeake Bay.
Probably said you see there.
Maybe.
Oh.
Our page is a little folded. I mean, we're doing the best we can.
Ella asks, did great-grandpa live on a boat? Grandpa laughs and says, no, your great-grandpa lived in a house, just like Cameron and me. When he was born, his house stood on dry land. Ella says, what? Every time I have visited, the Upwards has always been a part of the bay. I tell Ella, the Chesapeake Bay ate away the Upwards. Grandpa smiles and says, yep, about 200 years ago, the Upwards were on dry land.
It's going to get a nice little crease in there. There were whole neighborhoods there, but even then, the bay was eating away the Upwards, just a little bit at a time. When great-grandpa was born, the water was already over the bottom step of the front porch. So, by the time he was your age, he had to move to where we live now. We keep riding, and soon we are in town. I shake my head as I look around. Summer tourists are laughing in restaurants as they try to figure out how to eat blue crab. Others are smiling as they ride by in golf carts on sightseeing tours. They don't know or see that Tangier Island is changing. They just think it's always going to be the same. I begin to worry. The water has not reached our porch yet, but it's getting pretty close. Are we going to have to move next year? I wonder. Grandpa looks at me and seems to read my mind. Cameron, don't worry. We aren't going to have to move for a couple of years.
Besides, our city planners are looking at ways to stop or slow down the water eating away at the island. And Ella, you can still come back to visit us on Tangier Island for a while longer. Ella sighs. Good, because there is no other place I like to visit more than here. Grandpa stops his bike at our crabbing dock. All right, enough talk, he says. These crabs aren't going to wait all day. All right, so we've learned a lot through both the video and the text that we just read, that Tangier Island is getting smaller and smaller every year because more and more of that land is getting eroded away and covered in water. So what we need to do here on this page is to make a prediction. What do you think Tangier Island will look like in the future? Draw or write your answer. So we know what it looked like in the past. There was more island, more land.
Right.
And every year, the water gets closer to their doorstep. They're back. I remember in the video, that lady's backyard was like underwater.
Yeah, it was just like, it looked like giant puddles all over, like it was ready to kind of disappear itself.
Yeah.
So students could maybe draw, if you want to draw a picture, maybe you're drawing a small island, or maybe it's a couple sections of land. Right now, it's all one piece of land with a couple sections. Maybe what will change first is maybe there would be a few, might turn into a few islands. Or you can explain it in words here as well. All right, and then down at the bottom, the reflect section says, would you want to live on Tangier Island? Explain your answer. So you might begin with, no, I would not want to live on Tangier Island because, or maybe you think that would be cool. Yes, I want to live on Tangier Island because, and we want you to give a reason why or why not you would prefer not to live there.
Very good. All right, and it looks like the next page is for tomorrow's lesson, so this is going to be all you have to do writing-wise for today. But remember everything we read about and watched today, because all of that information is going to be used in the future of this book. All right.